desi roots music from Punjab.
Yeah.
And that's what I listen to. Kuldeep Manak and Surinder Shindar and people like that. I don't know if you know of them,
Come
but
on.
they're old school, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
But not everyone does,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
nowadays, like the youngsters now, they're all these Gen Zs. You play a Kuldeep Manak song, they can't even
They
understand what
don't
he's
know.
talking about,
Unless it's
right?
remixed and upbeated.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, Najina was, I'd been singing probably about 12, 13 years performing before I met Rishi.
Mhm.
And I was like 23 at the time I met him, got introduced through a mutual friend, went in the studio, got a meeting with him, and he asked me to sing my favorite song at that time. And even now, it was Put Sardarande by Bulwinder Safari, and I sang about maybe got to about 40 seconds in the vocal booth, and he was like, "All right, cool, that's enough, come." And I was like, "Oh, damn, he didn't like it," you know. And called me out, and he was like, "Okay," he goes, "So you know what?" He goes, "I like your vibe, man." He goes, "I didn't expect that." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Like you sang this like really desi song."
What did you sing?
But Sardana de.
Can you give us a
Yeah,
little? Go
it's
on.
he goes, ਬਹੁਤੇ ਦੁਖੀਓ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਕੌਮ ਬਦਲੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਕੌਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦਲੇਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਕੌਣ ਪੁੱਛਦਾ ਕਾਵਾਂ ਤੇ ਗਿੱਦੜਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਕੈਦ ਪਿੰਜਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ੇਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ
Hey.
ਰਸਤੇ ਖੁੱਲੇ ਕਰ ਦੂੰ ਸਾਰੀ ਗਲੀ ਬਾਜ਼ਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਗਲੀ ਬਾਜ਼ਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੇਰਾਂ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਘੁੰਮਦੇ ਫਿਰਦੇ ਪੁੱਤ ਸਰਦਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਸ਼ੇਰਾਂ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਘੁੰਮਦੇ ਫਿਰਦੇ ਪੁੱਤ ਸਰਦਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ
Come on.
Thank you. So
Wicked,
yeah, that
my
was my
G.
favorite song, man. Thank you.
Some
My
of that
voice is a
king
bit
energy, bro.
my voice is a bit mash up at the moment. I've done 3 shows back to back, but that was my favorite song. But
Wow.
I sang that for him, and I was like, "Oh no, he didn't like it." And he was like, "No, I like your style. I like your vibe." He goes, "But I don't want you to do that vibe." I was like, "Okay, what do you mean?" And I said, "But this is what I do. I'm like, I sing like dissy stuff, right?" And he's like, "Nah." He goes, "I want you to sing on my album." And I was like, "Oh wow, okay." He said, "I'm got an album coming out, and I want you to do a song for that for me. And if you're up for it." And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'd love to." He goes, "But I want you to do pop Punjabi music."
Right.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
What was your understanding of that?
Um, I wouldn't. I actually asked him. I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Like, you know, like very like kind of Taz kind of vibe, kind of you know, very pop kind of music." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Yeah, I've never done that kind of stuff." And he's like, "But I think you can."
Mhm.
I was like, he goes, "You've got the look." Like, you know, I was young Southall boy, and you know, I think I went to see him in my tracksuit, and he was like, "Yeah." He goes, I like that vibe, and I think you'll be good at pop music rather than that dissy stuff." He goes, "And to be fair, if you do dissy stuff at that time, dissy music was quite big, and he said everyone's doing dissy stuff, right?
Mhm.
All the old singers are like quite big right now. They're big with their whole dissy vibe." He goes, "And to get recognized, you got to go against the grain,
Mhm.
right? Come with something different, something fresh." And I was like, "Okay." I said, "All right, look, man, look, it's for your album. You know what you're doing, right? I'm confident. I'm just very grateful that you've asked me to sing on your album. So let's do it." And
Mhm.
he's like, "All right, cool." He goes, "When can you come back?" And I think I went to see him on a Sunday. And I said, "You tell me." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "Come back in on Wednesday." He goes, "I'm going to call a writer." He goes, "Can you write?" And I went, "Nah, I've never written a song in my life."
Mhm.
And he went, "Okay." He goes, "Come in on Wednesday. I'll call a writer down, and we'll do a studio session." I was like, "Okay, cool." So went back in on the Wednesday, and he called this guy. His name's Daljit from East London, and he went by the name of Iceman Dolly, right? And so he wrote songs. He came in, and that day, funny enough, he had writer's block, right? So he couldn't come up with anything. He couldn't think of anything. And Rishi had made this beat. He'd played some stuff on the keys, and he'd made a little guide beat. And he's like, I'm feeling this kind of, write something to this, right?" And the guy's walking around, pacing up and down the room, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just kind of humming along to this, and I've come up with this little hook. And he's like, "Okay, yeah, yeah, that's nice." And Rishi was like, I thought you said you didn't write.
Yeah.
I said, I don't, but I can vibe though.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. He goes, well, that's how you do it. And I was like, okay. So it was a very, very relaxed environment, very
Yeah.
chilled. And that's how we started writing that track.
Mm.
And then he was like, look, okay. Daljit was like, you know what? Let me go away and come back tomorrow. I don't want to, I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
He's like, nah. He said, listen, my album's done. I'm putting this as the last song on there. I can't have you go away and come back. You need to do this for me now. He goes, go out of the room, Jugs, go with him, go spend half an hour outside, get some fresh air and come back. He goes, we got to do this today. So we went outside and me and him started vibing. We started vibing and we started bouncing ideas off each other. And I co-wrote that song. I co-wrote Najina, my first single. And then we started putting it down, started vocaling it. The next day, I think I vocaled it because we wrote it that day. And Rishi was like, okay, so when can you record this, Jugs? And I was like, I was thinking like next week. In my head, I'm thinking like next week or so. And he's like, I said, I don't know. I said, let me learn it. He goes, all right, when can you do it? Tomorrow, day after? And I'm like, oh shit, this guy's quick, man. So this is a Wednesday, we've written it. And he's like, Friday, come Friday. And I'm like, okay. So I couldn't say no, obviously. At any point, I could not say no to this guy because he's giving me an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
If I say no, I might just blow it.
Yeah.
So I had to go with it. I said, yeah, okay, I'll be back on Friday. So I went away, learned the song. I'm reciting it, made it mine. Went back in on the Friday, went and vocaled it. And then did the vocals for that. And then he's like, okay, brilliant, man. He goes, I got what I need. He goes, thank you, man. He goes, that was wicked. I'll be in touch as soon as it's ready. And then I think he took another couple of days. On the weekend, he got a guy called Don D on there. And on the Monday, he rang me and he was like, Jugs, your song's ready. He goes, you want to come and have a listen? I'm like, wow, bro. That's mad. Like, I only met you on Sunday.
Yeah.
For the first time ever.
Wow.
And a week later, we've got a song. And he's like, yeah, he goes, it's going on the album. He goes, come down and have a listen.
You think that's what made Rishi special?
Yeah, man. He's quick, bro. He's very, very good at working with and developing artists. And that's what he did with me. He developed me. He gave me the opportunity. He helped me start my career. He gave me the opportunity that I was looking for, that I needed in this career. And, sometimes I guess if I never met him, I don't know where I would be. I might be in a restaurant because I love. Somebody asked me that once before. If you weren't a singer, what would you be? I said I'd be a chef. I'd have a restaurant because I used to have a kebab shop when I was 18. When I left uni, I had a kebab shop, and that's what I was going to do. So it wasn't a shop. It was a food market store.
Right.
I was in a market in Stevenage, and that's another. I would talk about that another time. But
I have two questions for you here.
Go on.
First of all, what goes into composing or writing a song? Like you said, you'd never done it before until you started vibing with somebody. How do you know what a verse looks like? How it rhymes? How it would go, start, finish? Like, where do you start?
I had no idea, to be honest. He helped me do that. That first song is when I learned how to structure a song. Your style, your antra, you're basically your chorus, your pre-chorus, your verse, and all of that structure. And nowadays you can just play around. You can just do, you start with a chorus or you can start with a verse. You can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
It's all down to you. It's how you want to put your song out. Everyone's chopping and chaining and doing whatever they want now. So there's no real kind of concrete structure to a song, but there is a general kind of way of doing it, and that was taught to me on that day. And then after that, I just started writing songs myself. I wrote Sonia, I wrote Billo, and then all the covers, all the remixes, all the features with Craig David, Missy Elliott, Britney, this, that, all of that stuff. I wrote all those myself.
Do you need permission from them artists to use the songs?
No, those were done with them.
With them?
Yeah. Wow. They were done with them. They asked us to remix the track. Yeah, wow. So we were.
Was you conversate with any of these?
So Rishi, our management was. Yeah, so we had management 2.9, 2.0. 2.0 from back in the day. That tag, yeah, that was our management at the time, and obviously, the management's role and A&R's role is to, communicate with other labels and other artists, and they had a really good rapport with other distributors and labels and artists and stuff like that. So we were able to connect with a lot of these people and get on a lot of the records, and they were official remixes. They weren't just remixes, bootlegs and stuff like that. They were official. Like, you know, there was someone from their team that was like, right, we've got this record we want, you know, and it was sent out to like 10 different producers, and then the best ones would get picked and get put on. And everyone that we got offered, everyone that got pitched, we got on.